When I returned home after work, she told me that she was going on a date. When I expressed my disapproval, she said she would cancel the date and we would discuss it. I decided that I was tired of discussing, and I left. So I don't know if she went on a date or is sitting at home waiting for me to discuss. She looked at me and her jaw dropped. What the hell do you mean date? Beck, I'm just as shocked as you are, believe me. She told me she was going on a date with a man, didn't tell me who he was, and seemed to expect me to just say, okay, have fun. What? Dad, is this a joke? Are you sure you got it right? I'm sure, and I wish it were a joke. What the hell is going on at your house? She demanded. God, I was with you on Wednesday, and no one said a word. Everything was fine. Hey, I thought everything was fine, I said. I couldn't say anything because I didn't know anything. Tonight was the first time I heard about it. I'll call her now, she said. Collins responded, and the conversation I heard on one side was interesting. Beck didn't beat around the bush. Where are you, Mom? With whom? What the hell, Mom? You just lied to me. Dad is sitting right here. No, you just lied to me. What's wrong with you? You just lied to me. My mother just lied to me. I don't care. You lied. I don't know how you're going to fix this. Don't talk nonsense to me. Don't call me. Don't come here. When and if I want to talk to you, I know how. She ended the conversation. We sat for a minute in silence. I didn't know what to say. I hugged her and she pressed herself against me, began to tremble, then buried her face in my chest and began to sob. She lied to me, Dad. She told me she was with you at the restaurant. She lied to me. I don't think you misunderstood. I just held her and felt tears welling up in my eyes. I guessed that she still went on that date. I know, honey. Everything will be fine. I know. Please don't cry, Beck. You're tearing my heart out. How will this be good? She sat down and looked at me with angry tears. My own mother just lied to me. She's on a date, and she tried to tell me. Dad, what are you going to do? I have no idea, I said. Beck, I'm lost. I came here to just be with you, to try to clear the situation in my head. I didn't think you'd ask me. I didn't want to. It's not your fault, I asked. She grabbed a box of tissues, wiped her eyes, and blew her nose. She looked at me, went down to the floor, and lay on top of Davy. He began to snore, resenting being disturbed from his sleep, and a couple of minutes later she returned to me, snuggling again. Hugging Davy always calms me down, she said. Holding you always calms me down, I told her. You smell better than Davy. She laughed. He really stinks. Talk to me, Dad. Where did this come from? What's going on between you and Mom? What are you going to do? Honestly, I wish I could answer these questions, but I don't know, and I don't know, and I don't know. I'm shocked. She was silent for a minute. We need to call Sylvia, she said. She took out her phone. Hello, Sil? Where are you? We need you to come here, now. No, this is important. I'm serious, now, okay? See you later. She's at the Straps Club, she said. Straps was the club they liked. He was 10 minutes away. She needs to call an Uber. We ate popcorn and drank wine, talking in low voices about what might have happened to Collins. Sylvia arrived about 20 minutes later. She performed the ritual with Davy and came to sit next to Beck. Sylvia was born 3 years before Beck, and they were always close. They did everything together. Beck was small, like her mother, a little blonde pixie. Sylvia was 4 inches taller, with her mother's hair and eyes, a slightly larger, darker version of her mother. She hugged us both. What's happened? She asked. What kind of emergency? I was having fun. This must be serious. Beck looked at her suspiciously. This is not good. Did you use something? Sylvia laughed. Well, I said I had fun. I had 2 margaritas, okay? Go make some coffee, Dad, Beck ordered. This is serious, Sil. By the time I made the coffee and Sylvia had finished her second cup, Beck told her what she knew. Sylvia looked a little shocked. Dad, I know there's more history here, she said. Are you sure you're not hiding something from us? Did you and Mom fight? Are you having problems? You know, in bed? We fight sometimes. Yes, I said. No more than when you both lived at home. Less, now that I think about it. Most of our fights were about you too. Beck hit me on the bicep. Hey. I laughed. And no, there are no problems that I know of in bed. If there are, then I don't know about them, and your mother hasn't said a word. Well, I need to talk to her, Sylvia said. You need to talk to her, Beck. Most importantly, you need to talk to her, Dad. Why didn't you stay home and talk to her? Maybe I should have, I admitted. I was too angry. Damn, girls, you didn't see how calmly she just announced it to me. Beck hugged me. I know, Dad. Sil is right, though. I think we all need to talk to her to see what she thinks. When do you think you can muster up enough courage to talk to her without losing your composure? I don't know, I said. Hopefully soon. I don't think I can stand this for long. I'm going to the lake, trying to relax enough to sleep, get up tomorrow, and hopefully come to my senses. I'll go with you, Beck stated. Let me pack Davy's bag and blanket. She headed towards her bedroom, then stopped. Give Daddy a cigarette, she said to Sylvia. Sylvia looked at me questioningly. I nodded, and she rummaged through her bag, pulled out a case, gave me one, and put it away. I have never been a heavy smoker. Collins and I smoked once in a blue moon. It was a remedy for anxiety, and I felt like I needed it. Beck came out with her bag, put the dog food in the container, grabbed Davy's bowls. I grabbed his bed, and we walked to the car. Sylvia showed us off. We threw our things in the back of the truck and spread a blanket on the back seat. I'll go talk to Mom tomorrow morning, she said. Beck, see when you can talk to her. Let me know what happens. Dad, don't do anything stupid, okay? Maybe, I said. I'm a little stupid. I'll try not to do anything too stupid. Sylvia hugged us. Davy climbed into the car, and we drove off. On the way, we had a serious conversation. Beck asked me a million questions, some of which I could answer, and some of which I couldn't. We drove to the lake house and took Davy for a walk by the lake. Walking along the shore, Beck holding my hand, as she had done all her life. Some things haven't changed. I was happy about this. Davy swam for a bit. We threw sticks at him. He chased little frogs and once a squirrel, and then we came back. It got dark, and we laid out our things. I checked the alcohol supply. Would you like a mojito? I asked Beck. Yummy, she said. Want? I made 2 large mojitos, each with 2 ounces of rum. Beck lit the fire, and we sat drinking drinks and talking. We lit a cigarette, and I felt quite calm. What do you think, Dad? She asked. I have several options, but it all depends on your mom, I said. I gotta tell you, Beck, it's pretty confusing. I think she could tell me she's lost her mind, give it all up, and that would leave us where we are. In therapy, Beck said. I laughed. Yes, a wand. I think I'd try it. What if she's determined? She asked. Then probably in court, I said. Surely she doesn't want this. How could she want this? I have no idea, I said. You're smarter than me, Beck. You're about to become a psychologist. Tell me, what could make someone do what she does? Actually, I don't know, she said. I know the literature. People cheat to get revenge because they have commitment issues. They're sexually attracted to someone else. They find themselves in situations where they're intimate. They're looking for something they're not getting from their primary partner. Perhaps a combination of several of these reasons. I'm pretty sure many of them don't apply to Mom. I have no idea if they relate to her, I said. If that's the case and she has some grievances, you'd think she'd talk to me and give me a chance to work on what's wrong. Yes, one would think, she said. I guess we'll find out. I'll talk to her tomorrow. Dad, You'll have to drive me back so I can get my car. I slept well, amazingly. I watched the video and occupied my mind until I fell asleep, dropping my phone. I just turned it off and slept. In the morning I got up, got dressed, took Davy out, and he rummaged around in the bushes for about an hour. When we returned, Beck was just waking up. "Do we have anything to eat, Dad?" she asked. "Actually, no, honey. We should have stopped on the way here." "It's no big deal," she said. "You can take me to breakfast. I want French toast in Gailey's." Agreed. We left Davy in the house. He mostly slept when he was bored, so that was fine, and we had a good breakfast. The topic of conversation was hypothetical situations that could happen until we mutually decided that we were tired of it. After that, we talked about school, my work, Davy's latest antics, and how her internship was going. We went back and packed her things and picked up Davy, and then I took her back to her house. I returned to the lake, sat in a rocking chair on the screened-in back porch, and watched the boat traffic on the lake. It was lonely. I missed Collins and remembered all the times we sat here, just enjoying each other's company. I missed Beck. Hell, I'd even settle for Davy's company. I decided to go fishing. I went out on a boat and fished near the cedars and caught some good ones. I cleaned them and found some fries in the freezer to go with them. They were delicious as always. When I remembered to turn on the phone, I had messages from both girls asking me to come to Beck. I went to see her with a heavy heart, and when I arrived, they were eating pizza. Beck gave me a beer, and we sat at the kitchen counter while they ate. "Well, I talked to her," Beck began. "Me too," added Sylvia. And I urged them to continue. "You won't like this," Beck said. "She said she feels unsatisfied. Not with you specifically, but with life in general. She misses the excitement, the challenges. Some jerk who owns the company she works with a lot started courting her. She likes she's being courted by men who find her attractive. She wants to be able to go on dates. She doesn't necessarily want to have sex with the people she goes out with, but she says she loves you more than ever. You can go on dates if you want." I sat there for a minute, processing what she said. "Sylvia, is it the same story for you?" I finally asked. "Almost so," she said. "Dad, I don't think this will last long. She will understand, and it will pass." "Damn, Syl, do you seriously think this is normal?" Beck exclaimed. I didn't say it was normal. She was on the defensive. I said I don't think it will last. She'll get over it, and everything will go back to normal. I was stunned. "What do you suggest I do while she gets sick?" I asked. "Love her, be patient, let her calm down," she said. "She loves you, Dad. She's just going through some midlife crisis or something." "How about no?" Beck said. "Let her buy a sports car, buy bondage equipment, and have you tie her up and spank her. Start racing motorcycles. These are midlife issues, not dating other men." "What are you suggesting? Divorce her? Lock her up?" asked Sylvia. "I have no idea," I said. "Divorce is probably one of the options." "No, that's not an option," Sylvia insisted. "God, Dad, don't go crazy over this. You were made for each other, and you know it." "Shouldn't you tell your mom that?" Beck asked. Should you tell her not to go crazy? This is some kind of nonsense, Sylvia. You're protecting her, but Dad didn't do anything. Absolutely nothing." "I'm not defending either side," Sylvia retorted. "Well, that's also a problem, isn't it?" Beck started to get angry. "You should have taken sides instead of saying that crap about patience." "Patience, my legs. She went on a date with some freak, Sylvia. You know he's a freak. If only he weren't a freak, he wouldn't harass a married woman, and she's a bitch for letting him." "Hey, let's calm down." I tried to calm them down. They didn't listen. "So what do you want, Beck? You want our parents to get a divorce? Is that what you're talking about?" "It's not about what I want," Beck replied. "It's not about what you want. It's about what Daddy wants. Don't forget, Sylvia, Daddy didn't want any of this. Mummy wanted it, and she has the responsibility to fix it. I'm telling you right now, she can get what she wants, but until she comes to her senses, she must plan our relationship the way I want. And what will it be? Asked Sylvia. I want to see her as little as possible and not hear her at all. So you're going to break things off with our mom? I'm not tearing anything up, Sylvia, and that's your problem. You don't see it. Everything that's happened since Daddy came home last night was Mummy's fault. All of it. She pulls the ropes, and if you can't see, you probably have the same problem as her. Oh wait, girls. Let's not let this get out of control. I tried to hug them. Beck let me pull her, but Sylvia turned away, grabbed her bag, and left the house. I pulled back to the window, and we saw Sylvia get into the car. The headlights turned on, then turned off. She got out and started to walk back, then turned around, got back into the car, and drove off. God, I'm so mad at her right now. Beck was furious. Sorry, Dad, but that was nonsense. She pressed herself against me, and I thought for a minute. I sighed. Yes, it happened, but it's not Sylvia's bullshit, Beck. This is your mother's bullshit. DDO should not be put in this position. I know you're both grown women, but we had a special family, dear. All our lives revolved around each other. I'm closer to you girls than any father I know. You have always had a good relationship with your mother. You shouldn't have found yourself in the middle of this nonsense, and neither should Sylvia. I'm sorry you ended up. Dad, it's not your fault, she said. You're right, it's bullshit, Mom, but the fact that Sylvia is acting like it's no big deal, and you should just be patient is bullshit too. Just don't burn any bridges, I said. Let me talk to her. I'll try to figure something out. I love you so much, Beck. I don't want you to suffer any more than you already are. She hugged me tightly. I trust you, Dad. I'll just wait for you and see what happens. Keep me close, okay? Always, I assured her. It's time to meet the lion face to face. I couldn't put it off any longer. I couldn't live in limbo. When I arrived at the garage, her car was there. I sat for a minute, searching for peace within myself, signed and entered. My stomach felt like I was going to get heartburn, so I went and got a glass of milk to calm it down. Collins was in her office, and she came out when she heard me. She looked as bad as I probably did. Hi, I said. I'm glad you're okay and back. She looked at me carefully. Collins, I'm a long way from being okay, I told her. She looked thoughtful. I meant you're safe. Do you want to talk? I nodded. Here or in the living room, she asked. Maybe it will be more convenient, I said. She nodded, poured herself some juice, and I grabbed a box of wheat thins. I followed her into the living room, and we sat on the couch. There was about a foot between us, which was unusual because she always wanted to cuddle up to me. I think I was giving off hostile vibes. I definitely felt hostility. I want to apologize to you, Barnes, she said. I understand that this is your mother's bullshit. Children should not be put in this position. I know you are both grown women, but we had a special family, dear. Our whole lives revolved around each other. I'm closer to you girls than any father I know. You always had a good relationship with your mother. You shouldn't have found yourself in the middle of this nonsense, and I'm sorry you did too. Dad, it's not your fault, she said. You're right. It's Mum's bullshit. But the fact that Sylvia is acting like it's no big deal and you should just be patient is bullshit too. Just don't burn any bridges, I said. Let me talk to her. I'll try to figure something out. I love you so much, Beck. I don't want you to suffer any more than you already are. She hugged me tightly. I trust you, Dad. I'll just wait for you and see what happens. Keep me close, okay? Always, I assured her. It's time to meet the lion face to face. I couldn't put it off any longer. I couldn't live in limbo. When I arrived at the garage, her car was there. I sat for a minute, searching for peace within myself, signed and entered. My stomach felt like I was going to get heartburn, so I went and got a glass of milk to calm it down. Collins was in her office, and she came out when she heard me. She looked as bad as I probably did. "Hi," I said. "I'm glad you're okay and back." She looked at me carefully. "Collins, I'm a long way from being okay," I told her. She looked thoughtful. "I meant you're safe. Do you want to talk?" I nodded. "Here or in the living room?" she asked. "Maybe it will be more convenient," I said. She nodded, poured herself some juice, and I grabbed a box of wheat thins. I followed her into the living room, and we sat on the couch. There was about a foot between us, which was unusual because she always wanted to cuddle up to me. I think I was giving off hostile vibes. I definitely felt hostility. "I want to apologize to you, Barnes," she said. "I understand that I arranged everything very poorly." I raised my hand. "Collins, if you think the device is the problem, we're wasting our time." She looked puzzled. "I don't understand." "Let me explain as clearly as possible," I said. "There is no way to arrange the story that you were going to go on a date that would weaken the fact that you were going to go on a date. Do you understand that?" "I understand what you mean, but you don't understand what I mean," she said. "Okay, you listen to me, so go ahead. Explain to me." By arrange, I meant that I had to take the time to explain what I was doing so that the fact that I was doing it was acceptable to you. "I'm afraid you'd have to be a damn wizard to do that," I said. "Have you suddenly discovered magical abilities in yourself?" She smiled. "Not quite magic, but almost," she said. I spread my hands. "You say, Mrs. LeFay. Just think about it, Barnes. How old are we?" "I'm 48, and you're an ancient 49, I said. She laughed. "Yeah, and I feel every one of these years. Not physically. I think we're both in better shape than we've ever been, and I feel 25 physically. It's mental, emotional. Remember when we were actually 25, Barnes?" I remember something. I remember too. I remember feeling alive, full of life, like there were endless possibilities, like we could achieve anything. Everything sparkled. We were full of energy. The colors were bright. Love was a new discovery every day. You remember? Yes. "Think about our lives now," she said. "I know your every move. We get up on Sunday to start the week. We can go to church, or we can sleep, make love, spend the day cooking dinner. You can watch football, or we can choose a movie. These are all things that we've done 1,000 times." Okay, you're right about that. It's Monday, we get up and go to work. We come home and do the same things we've done 1,000 times. Days merge into weeks, weeks into years, years into decades. I think we just go through the motions. "I understand all of this," I said. "I think the difference is that I like to do those things that we've done 1,000 times. I want to do them 1,000 more times. That's why we keep doing them, because we like them. If we didn't like them, we'd do something different." "That's exactly my point," she said. "I love doing what we do too. I want to add new things to it, bring back some of the excitement of the unexpected in life. I want to keep growing, exploring new areas." "I understand. What makes you think I don't want to try new things? Obviously, you don't think we can do anything new together." "I think we could do them together," she said. "I told you I was going on a date. Then when I get home, I'll tell you everything, share my impressions. You could do the same, Barnes. I think your understanding of together and my understanding of it are very different." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "Let me make it as clear as possible. By together, I mean you and me. The moment you brought someone else in, it didn't pass the together test." She thought for a moment. "When was the last time you spent time alone with a woman other than me?" "Well, if you mean besides the girls or other family members, that was 6 months ago. Do you remember when I went to Kansas City with Amber? We met with people from the telecommunications company." She nodded. "I know Amber quite well. Tell me, Barnes, is there any sexual tension between you two?" "No, as far as I know," I said. "I mean, I know she's a woman. She's beautiful, you know that, But I'm married, 10 years older than her, and we don't flirt, if that's what you mean. We have a very good working relationship. We are friends, and I'm not trying to be anything more. Well, you said it. She's beautiful. She's single, Barnes. What if you took her out to dinner, and then you decided to check out the nightlife, go to a club, and dance together? Would that be exciting? Holding all that beauty in yours? Hugs. Wouldn't that cheer you up? Maybe. That's why I don't do it, I replied. Why? She challenged me. Because I'm married to you, I told her. I don't put myself in situations where my wants could be directed at anyone other than you. What if I agreed with this? She asked. It doesn't matter, I said. I wouldn't agree with that. She sighed. I would agree. Maybe 10 years ago, I would have been against it. Now I'm more mature. I would be okay with it, and I feel like you would have to be okay with me doing the same thing. That's the stumbling block, I told her. I don't agree. This is not what I signed up for. Collins, you promised me, I promised you. If you want to get out, that's fine. Well, it's not normal, but it is what it is. If you're made up your mind, I can't stop you. I only control myself. I don't want to go out, she said. I want to be freer, though. I want to be spontaneous, see adventures and go on them, but not quit. Are you going to do this despite my feelings? I asked. She sighed again. I don't know, Barnes. I'm inclined to say yes. The fact that you've thought about it, that you have it all figured out in your head, that you can talk about it so fluently, tells me a lot, I told her. You haven't communicated with me. You've been hiding it from me for a while now. What else are you hiding? And your little trick on Friday night. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I was mad at you for leaving when I wanted to discuss it. That's bullshit, Collins. That's an outright lie. You planned this long before Friday, and were getting ready to go before you even mentioned it to me. Speaking of lying, you also lied to Beck. Looks like you're good at it. I let out my anger and bitterness. I told you I'd cancel so we could talk. She conveniently dodged the rest. Damn, I'm tired of talking. Okay, you had your chance to make it, I said. My position hasn't changed. It's not about finding the right way to tell it to me. There's no way to do it right. It's that you did it, that you plan to do it again, and that you want to do it. That's all that matters. Meaning, I don't control you, but I control myself. I'll just pack my things and leave you alone. What the hell, Barnes? That's not what I want, she protested. I will not do it. But you will, I said. I have no trust in you right now. You basically told me that you think I'm boring, that you need excitement in your life, bright colors, and all that bullshit. Even if you never do anything, I'll always know that you feel that way. And there's no way to convince me that you won't regret being stuck in a boring life. We want different things, Collins, so let's move on. I went to the basement and took out my suitcases, carried them into the bedroom, and started packing. I took what I needed for a week or so. Everything else I could pick up later. She followed me the whole time, convincing me that we would work it out, but I didn't listen. I put everything in the truck, and she tried to walk around the car and get inside. Luckily, the door was locked. She stood in the driveway as I drove away. It was a depressing sight. I loved her, and it was like I had lost half of my heart and soul. I just didn't see a way forward. I remembered to stop at the grocery store this time. It occupied my thoughts and kept me from thinking about anything else for a while. The trip to the lake reminded me of everything again. I turned on the podcast, but when I arrived, I didn't remember what it was about. I brought my things and put them away in the fog. It occurred to me that I should call the girls, but I didn't have the strength. As it turns out, I still had to find them. I sat there for maybe an hour when my phone rang. I looked, and it was Sylvia. I had to do it. "Hi, honey," I said. "Where are you, Dad?" she asked. "I'm at the lake," I said. "Where are you?" "I'm at your house," she said. "Mom called me and asked me to come." I received a call notification. It was Beck. Wait a minute, Beck is calling, I said. I answered and told her I would call back, that I was in touch with Sylvia. She agreed, so I went back to talking to Sylvia. She's in terrible shape. Dad, you should have been here, not me. I understand that, I replied. Sylvia, this is a difficult conversation. Are you sure you want to discuss this over the phone? She fell silent for a minute. No, probably not. Will you come back? No, I'm not coming back. Honey, I'll explain everything when I see you, okay? No, it's not good, but apparently it is, she said. Dad, I have work. I can't stay here. I'll stay tonight, but I have a lot to do at work. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. Your mom works too, I said. It's not on you, Sylvia. Do what you need to do. Your mother and I are adults. She sighed, and I could tell she was very upset. I'm so sorry, Sylvia. I know this is hard for you. I love you. You are my first daughter, and you will always be special to me. She answered with a choked voice. I love you too, Dad. Goodbye. I pulled myself together and called Beck. Hi, dear. Are you okay, Dad? She asked. I will, I replied. And how are you? Also, she said, I'm guessing you're at the lake. Yes. Do you want to come, and I'll tell you what happened? Yes, my things are already packed, she replied. All my classes this week are online, but I have to work on Wednesday and Thursday. Can I spend the week with you? You don't need to ask. I'll spend every second I can with you, I told her. I know, she replied. I'll be there in an hour or so. I'll cook dinner, I said. As I was putting food out on the bar, I heard the sliding door on the veranda open and the sound of Davy's claws as he searched for me. He followed the smell of food, and I had to stop to show him some love. I gave him the fat I trimmed from the cutlets and was washing my hands when Beck hugged me from behind. I dried my hands and hugged her back. Smells amazing, she said. No, Davy. She took some tissues and wiped the drool from his mouth. He lay down behind our bar stools, and we started eating. It was quite tasty. I guess it didn't go over very well, she said. No, she's offered many explanations. Ultimately, she's bored and wants her childhood back. Great. She rolled her eyes. Tell me, I said, if you, in your professional role, were to meet with your mother as a client, what would you say was going on with her? I would never date her, or anyone else with whom I have a personal relationship, as a client, she replied. If someone I didn't know came to me with her story, I'd say they were feeling depressed about their own adolescence. There's no such thing as a midlife crisis, you know. I didn't know, I said. I thought it was there. They always talk about it. Yes, the movies and books have made it so popular that everyone thinks it's a real phenomenon, she said. It's not a diagnosis. It's a transition period, and some people see their mortality, start to feel like they have a limited number of years at their peak and get depressed, start doing stupid things to maintain the illusion that they're immortal. Wow, who would have thought, I said. My daughter is so smart. She smiled at me. Yes, I'm smart, and don't forget it. Do you think she needs to see a therapist? I asked. Yes, and I'll tell her that, but I won't interfere, she said. I understand. It's a shame you got so involved. I'm really sorry about that. It's not your fault, she said. I know it's hard for you because of me. It's hard for me too because of you. But we can get through this, right? Yes, we have no other choice, I said. Sylvia came over Tuesday night. Beck made potato salad, and I fried burgers. We sat at the table on the veranda and ate while we talked. Dad, Mom is terrified, said Sylvia. Yeah, me too, I admitted. What are you going to do? She asked. She wants you back. She promised to forget about all this. She sees the damage she's done, and she's sorry. Yeah, I'm sure she's sorry, in a way. What do you mean, in a sense? It's hard to explain, honey, but I'll try. I want to hear that too, Beck added. I'll need a minute, I said. May I bring you something to drink? What do we have? Asked Sylvia. I have everything for Paloma, I said. Delicious, Beck said. I want to. Sylvia wanted one too, so I gathered my thoughts while I prepared the drinks. We got comfortable, and I was as ready as I could be. Sylvia, are you still dating that guy? What's his name? Weed, Beck interjected. Sylvia laughed. No, I realized that he really is a weed. I have a new boyfriend. I met him here a month ago. His name is not Weed, it's Richard. Oh, God, Dick. They both burst into laughter. They interrupted my thoughts. I tried again. Okay, let's say Dick. They laughed again. Okay, Richard, okay? Richard. Imagine if Richard told you that you were boring. Sylvia, how would you feel? Not very good, she replied. I'm not boring. No, you're not boring, but he thinks you are. What can you say? Can you argue with how he feels? I don't quite understand what you mean, she said. Well, Beck, you don't like raisins. Sylvia, you don't like coconut. That's what you feel. Would you feel differently if I told you that you like these things? No, Beck said, and I see your point. Did Mom really tell you you were boring in those words? No, I can't quote her exactly. I remember some words. She said a lot of things. Shit, Beck said. We're adults, Dad, Sylvia said. I hate to shock you, but I'm swearing a little. What's your favorite word? Beck was hysterical with laughter. Probably damn, said Sylvia. That's enough. You too, I admonished them, which caused another burst of laughter. She asked me if I remembered what we were like when we were 25, like you are now. She used all these colorful words about how great it was, how exciting our lives were, how everything was new and bright. She said she feels like we're stuck in a rut, doing the same thing over and over again, and she wants to bring that excitement back. Do you feel the same, Dad? Beck asked. Probably a little, I admitted. I know I'm not 25. I told her I like the things we do, otherwise we'd be doing something different. I don't see anything wrong with it, Sylvia said. What did she answer? She wants to do other things, I replied. The problem is that she doesn't want to do them with me. She wants to do them with other men. She likes to be courted. She likes to feel that men want her. So she's going to go on dates, and if everything works out, have sex with them. Oh my God, Beck said. How am I supposed to deal with this? I asked them. Can I tell her she's wrong? She feels what she feels, and you can't argue with that. Will all this excitement and vitality she says she's missing suddenly appear? No, they won't, Beck said. Did you suggest something you could do together to bring back that excitement without getting others involved? Asked Sylvia. Honey, think about it, I said. Do you really think she had this idea on Friday, that she suddenly had an epiphany and went on a date with some guy all on the same day? No, she said. What do you mean? I'm saying she's been thinking about it for a long time, I said. Did she say anything to me? Not a word. Did she give me a chance to plan something exciting? Hell, something we could do together? No. She wants her excitement with someone else, and if I somehow force her not to do what she wants, she will be angry with me for it. Do you understand? I understand, Beck said. Me too, added Sylvia. Dad, if she saw a therapist, got some counseling, changed her mind about her feelings, do you think you could fix this? I shook my head. Sylvia, she thought she could pass me by. She just announced that she was going on a date, and I had to live with it. Do you understand how disrespectful that is? She seemed to sag in her chair. Yes, I understand, Dad. I'm sorry. What if she had sincere regret? Do you think she is like that? I asked. She said she was sorry for the mismanaged situation and not for doing it. I'll talk to her, said Sylvia. Beck, will you help me? If I can convince her, will you help her find a good therapist? I'll help, Beck said. If she asks for help, I will help. Still, I will not interfere with her life. Unless she asks me herself. She should want it and not be forced to accept help. Sylvia left very unhappy. I was sorry to see it, but she hugged us and told us both that she loved us and that she would come back more often. Beck maintained a somewhat frosty relationship with Collins, but rarely mentioned her as the weeks passed. I received regular detailed reports from Sylvia. Collins rejected the idea of therapy, although she mentioned that she was open to the idea of couples counseling. I asked Beck what she thought, and she thought it was pointless. She believed that unless the root cause of Collins's dissatisfaction was addressed, any therapy would only help her mask her feelings or try to reconcile me with what she wanted. "Are you ready for this?" Beck asked. "No, I'm not interested in other women, and certainly not interested in sharing her with other men," I replied. Sylvia was there, and she asked an interesting question. "Are you sure, Dad? What if you just reviewed it would be like a short vacation from marriage, and I would meet several attractive ladies for a while? How once Mom realizes she's wrong, you could go back to your normal life." "Can I?" I asked. "What if in 2 years, or 5, or 10 years, she gets bored again? Besides, I don't know any hot chicks I could be friends with even if I wanted to, which I don't. Do I see any hot girls waiting outside? Should I go check?" They both laughed. "Unless you work with them, or they're not burglars and break into the house, you won't meet anyone," Beck said. "You're a very handsome guy your age, Dad," Sylvia said. "If you looked, I doubt you'd have any problems." "I'm not interested in that," I said. "No, Sylvia, I just can't. I don't have it inside me. Are you disappointed?" "In a way, yes," she said. "I don't like that you and Mom aren't together. On the other hand, I have to respect you. You know yourself you have moral principles about this, and you stick to them. Respect to you for this." After 2 months, with no visible changes, I couldn't stand it. I filed for divorce. This immediately prompted a phone call. "This has gone too far, Barnes," Collins said over the phone. "Are you divorcing me? You have no reason to. What will you tell the judge?" "I don't need to tell him anything," I said. "This is the meaning of a no-fault divorce." "What will you tell other people?" she asked. "We quarreled, and you divorced me." "I won't tell them anything," I said. "It's none of their business." "I'll come," she said. "We need to talk about this before it's too late." "Do you want me to cook dinner on Friday night?" I asked. "Yes, that would be wonderful," she said. I was finishing cooking dinner when I heard the door open. I was a little annoyed that she just walked in. Sure, we both owned a lake house, but I didn't go back to our house in the city and just didn't go over when she was there. I went to get my things while she was at work, and that was it. She looked as good as ever. She still knew how to make my heart beat faster, despite how wary I was of her. She threw her purse on a chair and walked towards me. She wanted to hug, which turned into a desire to kiss. I could hug, but a kiss was beyond my capabilities, given the circumstances. She looked offended, but so be it. I was offended too, and I had my reasons. "Can I help?" she asked. "Everything is ready," I said. "You can set the table while I bring the dishes, if you want." We laid out the food, poured the wine, and she started talking. "I don't want a divorce, Barnes." "That's what I don't understand," I said. "Why?" "Because I love you and want to spend my whole life with you," she said. "But why?" I asked. "You were married to me almost your entire adult life, and it didn't give you satisfaction, remember?" "I never said that I was unsatisfactory," she said. "Maybe you didn't use that exact word," I said. "Don't play word games with me, Collins. You've made it quite clear that you're missing something." "Then you misunderstood me," she said. "I'm quite happy. I just wanted to add satisfaction to both of us." "Okay, but what you wanted to add was connections with other men," I said. It made me very unsatisfied. The answer seems simple to me. We're getting a divorce. You can sleep with whoever you want, as much as you want, and I won't feel unsatisfied. I do not understand this. Either way, I'll be sleeping with other men, as you crudely put it. Well, this is a pretty rough deal, I said. The difference is that I won't be married to you while you're doing this. You can continue, and I will continue with my life. Maybe I'll find someone who doesn't want to sleep with other men. The perfect solution. You get what you want, and I get what I want. This is not what I want, she said. Why should there be a choice between you and casual dates with other men? If it's a choice, I want to be married to you. I understand that, and the girls, well, Sylvia, told me that this is your position. The problem is that I don't want to be married to a woman who wants to sleep with other men, whether she does or not. We finished dinner and moved to the sofa. That's all, she asked. Even though I love you, I give up this idea and choose you. Don't you want to be married to me? Yes, Collins, that's it, I said. Look at me, Barnes, she said. I watched. The next thing I remember, she kissed me. But my lack of response became noticeable, and she stopped. What's wrong? She asked. Collins, were you dating someone? I asked. I already knew the answer. I could see the doubt in her eyes. Apparently, she decided to be honest. Yes, Barnes, I met. She hesitated, then nodded. Yes, with two of them. That's what's wrong, I told her. God, Barnes, before we met, I slept with half a dozen guys, she said. You were with other girls too. There are a few key words, I said. Before we met is quite important. I have never slept with anyone other than you since we got married. I didn't even do anything inappropriate. You can't say the same thing anymore. Then sleep with other women, she said. I told you that you are free to do this. Take a walk. Come back and tell me about it. Be with me. This will turn me on. I know you want this, I said. I don't want to. Are you going to meet someone? She asked. Perhaps eventually, I said. I like being married, Collins. I don't find it boring. She sighed. Could I be one of the women you date? Perhaps, I said. I doubt I can do it. I don't feel the same about you. Maybe I can stop being angry about the way you treated me. Maybe I won't think about the other guys you're with. If I were you, I wouldn't hold my breath. She stood up, angry and sad, and walked over and picked up her purse. Let me know when you change your mind, she said. She left. The divorce was making its way through the courts, and her lawyer asked the judge to schedule counseling. This was unexpected, and the judge explained that he was required by law to appoint them if one of the parties requested. I'm not going to do this, I told my lawyer. This is not the judge's business and not the state's business. No way. He can outlaw you, he said. You're an expert, I said. Figure it out. I can't, he said. That's what the law says. I was silent for a minute. What if we call you back divorce suit? Will he still be able to schedule consultations then? He was stunned. No, I don't think he can. Is that what you want to do? Yes, do it, I said. This seemed to stun everyone present, and Collins had a smug look on her face. After the case was dismissed, I approached her. The reason I dropped the lawsuit is because I'm not going to force anything, I told her. Until you give up your nonsense. This is the last time I will talk to you. Don't call, write, or send telegrams. I'll never talk to you again if that's what you want. Her jaw dropped, and she was about to say something, but I just walked away. She tried to contact me for 2 months. She tried clever tricks like sending messages to me through Sylvia. Beck's relationship with her mother deteriorated to the point where they no longer even spoke, and this caused some tension between Beck and Sylvia. She tried to come to the lake house 3 times, but I tried to change the locks and keep all the doors closed. I just ignored her. She even came to my work one day, and I had to throw her out. After 2 months, she gave up and told Sylvia that she would no longer ask for counseling if I wanted to file for divorce. We did it, went before the same judge, and the divorce went through without opposition. I saw that he was unhappy, But everything was settled between us, and he could not order anything. She stayed with a house in the city, and I stayed with a house by the lake. This is exactly what I wanted. The distribution of assets was fair. She stayed with her business. I stayed with mine. No alimony was assigned. Everyone kept their pension savings. The usual business of divorce, all boring, tedious, and annoying. I started selling my business. It didn't take long and my retirement began. I fished, learned to water ski, and the girls and I pretty much lived on the boat all summer. By October, when it got cooler, I was ready. I applied for a visa to become a resident of Mexico. I could stay 180 days as a tourist, and I thought that during this time I'll understand well what I want to do next. I winterized the house, traded in my Chevy for a half-ton diesel-powered F350, bought an Eagle Cap luxury one-untued camper, hitched up the boat, and headed south. Lake Bacharach in Sinaloa, Mexico was to be my new home for the next 180 days. Both girls were a little unhappy with me, but they will get used to it. After I bought them both open-air tickets to Guadalajara, promising them all the beach time they wanted, they became visibly animated. The first week I was there, I found a 5-acre lot about a mile from the lake, bought it, got the utilities in, and by the end of the month I was a local. The second time I fished the lake, I caught a 14-pound bigmouth bass, and I was hooked on fishing. Sylvia arrived in January, and I met her at the airport. We went to Puerto Vallarta, and I gave her a choice. Stay with me on the beach, or we stay at a hotel. She chose a hotel. It was a very nice place, full service, and we had a great time. She stayed for a week, and on the last day, as we sat on sun loungers looking out at the ocean, she asked, "You're not going to come back, are you, Dad?" she asked. "I haven't decided for sure yet," I told her, "but I'm inclined to stay. The only thing that could make me come back is you girls, and I will send a plane for you any time. I will also come several times a year to see you." "What about Mom?" she asked. I frowned. "Is she all right?" "Probably," she said. "She mostly works. I know she regrets everything." "How do you know?" I asked. "Well, she didn't say it outright, but she seems, I don't know, depressed. She is not the energetic and cheerful person she used to be. I think she's sad. I don't think she enjoyed single life as much as she thought she would." "Sorry to hear that," I said. "If you don't care, Sylvia, I'd rather not talk about her anymore, okay?" She smiled a sad smile. "Understand, I just wanted." I took her hand. "Understand." We shook off the bad vibes and had a blast that night. I drove her back to the airport, and with many hugs and a few tears, she flew off, promising to be back soon. Beck arrived in February, and everything went pretty much the same, except she wanted to stay in the camper with me. We spent 3 days on the beach. In the afternoon hours of the third day, she said, "Where do you really live, Dad?" I answered her, and she wanted to go there. We pulled out the folding elements and hit the road. The road was quite long, and we had a great trip. When we pulled up, she saw the view of the lake, the 2 barns I had built, the lot, and she loved it all. "I can't believe you have such a beautiful place, a cute little truck house, and you actually live here," she said. "I'm lucky," I said. "The only thing that would be better is if you lived here." She looked at me thoughtfully. "I can't imagine how I would make a living. I would like to use my degree." "Do you know what my degree is?" I asked her. "I'm sure you told me. I do not remember. I just know that you have it." "This is agribusiness," I said. She laughed. "Agriculture? What do machines have to do with this?" "I started working on machines because I worked at a farm equipment dealership," I said. "Harvesters kept coming in with these broken pins. I got the idea to start making stronger pins. It all went from there." "I didn't know," she said. "Well, what I'm saying is that there are ways to use your degree." "Explain this." "Are you a psychologist? What do you mainly do?" "I listen to people's problems," she said. "Bartenders do a lot of the same things," I said. She laughed. Yes, that's probably true. She spent 2 weeks there and then returned home. I really missed her for several weeks. Then I returned to my enjoying lifestyle. 6 months later, she called me. I need a favor, she said. If I can, I'll help, I said. Are we talking about a big loan or just a lack of money? About a big loan, she said. Can I ask what you need it for? You do not trust me. No, I trust. I'll give you as much as you need. I was just joking, she said. I want to buy a hotel. Okay, that sounds interesting, I said. Is this a working hotel? Does it generate income? Can I watch it online or something? I could, she said. I was hoping you would go there. I was confused. Where? How far is it? About 10 miles, she said. It's on Lake Baccarat. Is it true? Are you teasing me again? No, she said. I studied their reports with an accountant. They make good money. They have a bar, so I could listen to people's problems. She laughed out loud, and I laughed with her. Oh my God, darling. It would be like a dream come true for me. How much do you need? She quoted a staggering amount. God, Beck, you're aiming for a big game, huh? Large or at home, she said. Will this leave you without funds? Only if you pay me back, I said. I'll make a repayment plan, she said. It should be pretty short term. Once I become a business owner and can show that I am profitable, I will receive bank financing. I kind of have no credit history. I understand, I said. This is so great, Beck. I can't believe you're doing this. God, it will be so great to have you here. I'll take a look and tell you what I think, but you should come and see for yourself too. She arrived 3 weeks later, and we toured the place. It was aimed at fishermen, mainly from the USA, and it was a very good investment in my opinion. 6 months later, my daughter became the owner of the business. She ran it well, and everything was going great. Davy became a local celebrity. He was constantly pampered, and he was in seventh heaven. Beck and I spent a lot of time together, and I would often go to the bar. Beck would sometimes stand behind the bar, and it was fun to watch her use her psychological skills. She had a first-class restaurant, and the locals often dined there. It was always full, but she had a table in the kitchen, and they always found a seat for me. On Friday night, I was in the kitchen, and the head chef asked me if I minded if he seated another guest at my table. I wasn't thrilled, but what can I do? Of course, I said. He left, and when he returned, there was a woman with him. I gasped. God, she was amazing. She was dressed elegantly, in a yellow dress that showed off her dark skin color, was off the shoulder, went down to her knees, but had a slit on one side, and as she walked, a delicious brown leg was visible. Her hair was a thick black head with streaks of chestnut brown. Her forehead was high and wide. Her eyes were so dark that they seemed black. She had high cheekbones, full, plump lips, and a small, pointed chin that gave her face a heart shape. He pulled out a chair for her, and when she sat down, he introduced us. Valent, this is Mr. Barton. He is the father of the owner here. I stood up as she sat down. I sat down and extended my hand to her. Barnes, please. No, mister. She laughed, a low, musical laugh, and I wanted to hear it again. You can call me Nita, she said, her deliciously accented English flawless. Her voice was low for a woman and a little hoarse, but smooth as velvet. It looks like she already ordered because the waiter brought her a glass that looked like sangria. I tried to find something to say. This beauty amazed me. It's pretty crowded outside, I said. It's good that this table is here. Yes. I didn't have a reservation, she said. Thomas usually finds a seat for me, but today I didn't want to sit at the bar. There's someone I want to avoid. Understand. I didn't understand, but it didn't matter. I'm glad that person was there because it meant I could look at Nita and listen to her talk. You're safe with me. My mission in life is to protect beautiful ladies from annoying guests. She actually blushed, a blush touching her cheeks. I am very glad to have such a gallant defender. She laughed again, and I got goosebumps. Do you often dine here? Yes, I said. Like Thomas said, my daughter owns this place, and although I can cook, it's just me, so I come here. Ah, beautiful Beck, she said. I love her very much. She and I are becoming friends. Is it true? Well, I'm glad to hear she's making friends, I said. Do you live nearby? Yes, she said. I have a house near the Sinaloa River. I live there most of the time, but also in Los Machis. You obviously live nearby. I laughed. Well, yes, I'm pretty mobile. Nita, I have 5 acres nearby with a couple of buildings, but I have a truck and a camper. I have wandering legs now, and I like to be able to leave at a moment's notice. I understand, she said. Did you recently move here from the US, like Beck? I've been here about a year, I said. I arrived before Beck. She came to visit, fell in love with this place, and bought this hotel. What brings you here? She asked. At first it was fishing, I explained. And that's still the case. I had the opportunity to sell my business in the States and satisfy my desire to travel. What kind of business did you have? She asked. She hesitated, then said, I'm sorry, it's none of my business. I laughed. Don't worry, I don't mind. I made parts for companies like Caterpillar, John Deere, and others. Ah, the tycoon of industry, she said, smiling at me with her radiant smile, the whiteness of her teeth illuminating her beautiful brown skin. Hardly, but I am permanently retired. I'm not, she said. I could, but I want to do something. What exactly? I asked, if you don't mind my asking. I deal in illegal substances, she admitted in a quiet voice. Her words took me by surprise. She laughed. Not really. I own a pharmaceutical company. We supply medicines to the Mexican Social Security Institute. Wow, that's impressive, I said. That's why I also live in Los Machis, she said. She looked at me thoughtfully. Maybe I should retire too and be like Barnes. What do you say? Free legs and fantasies. I laughed. Footloose and fancy-free. She smiled. Yes, I didn't know how to say it in English. You speak excellent English, I said. I speak Spanish, but you speak better than me. Would you like to know what my business is here? The spell of the snowflake. I'd like to know what you do, I replied. Tell me about Nita. Oh, you want to know Nita? She winked at me with another one of those sparkling smiles. Yes, I said again. Just because you and Beck are friends, you know. She laughed. Yes, I see. That must be your reason. I have many hectares of land along the river, and I have several horses, but most of all cattle. What breed? I asked. I have registered Jelvich breed cattle. Do you know them? Well, I don't know them personally, I said, causing her to burst out laughing. But I've heard of them. Barnes, you are very funny, she said, pulling herself together. I should introduce you to some of them personally to correct this deficiency in your acquaintances. Now it was my turn. I didn't giggle, because giggling is indecent for men, but I had a good laugh. And Nita is a very funny woman, I said. I have to ask, and you may say it's none of my business, but is there a Mr. Valent? No, she replied. There was once, but no longer. He worked in the petrochemical industry. There was an explosion, and he got hit. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Nita. Sorry about my chatty mouth. No, that's acceptable, she said. 11 years have passed. I remember, but the good times, you know? I nodded. Yes, the pain of losing loved ones fades over time, and you begin to remember the good things. What about Barnes? She asked. The beautiful Beck apparently has a mother. Yes, and I have another daughter, Sylvia, 3 years older than Beck, I said. I took out my phone and showed her a photo of Sylvia. Oh, she is very beautiful, she said. She doesn't live here. No, she lives in the States, next to her mother. My wife and I divorced almost 2 years ago. Is this a sensitive topic for you? She asked. It was, I said. It gets easier as time goes on. We wanted different things. She wanted an open relationship, sleeping with other people. I'm not. In short, I'm really sorry to hear about this, she said. Well, that's life, I said. Listen, Nita, would you like to go out to dinner with me maybe next weekend? I would love to, but not next weekend, she said. I have to leave for Los Machis the day after tomorrow, and I won't be back until next Tuesday, maybe on Friday after I get back. That sounds perfect, I said. Can I get your number? I'll make a reservation and send you a time, okay? Yes, give me your phone, she said. She entered her number into my contacts. Maybe when you pick me up, I'll introduce you to some cows. She giggled at her own joke. I walked her to the car. It was a new BMW Z4, silver. Cool. I walked around her and admired her before opening the door for her. She kissed me on the cheek, and it was like an electric shock. You were a very charming dinner companion, Barnes, she told me. Thank you for letting me join you. Believe me, the pleasure was all mine. I don't know how I can wait until dinner to see you again. You have my number, she said. Call me. Late in the evening is best. I'll definitely call, I promised. I closed the door for her and watched as she drove away. God, what an exquisite woman she is. And she agreed to meet with me. I felt like I was flying, walking on clouds as I walked back inside to say goodbye to Beck. She was staying at a hotel, and I knocked on her door. She opened it and looked very excited. Did you like her? She asked without holding back. Isn't she fired? She's so cute too. Dad, did you ask her out? You little sly one. I hugged her and spanked her on the ass. You arranged this. She giggled in her sinister voice. I did it. I'm done. You are a very bad girl, I told her. Well done. God, dear, how did you persuade her to do this? She loves me, Beck said. I told her about you, and you were simply made for each other. Did you invite her? I invited you. She's leaving for a week, but on Friday after she returned, she said she'd go to dinner with me. By the way, I will need to arrange transportation other than a truck. You can take my car, she said. Thank you, Beck. It's good for a short time, but I'll have to get my own. The next day I wrote to Nita. I see it's as if two evil women are conspiring against me. She sent me a series of hearts and emojis. Yes, I won't resist. I guess Beck confessed. My own daughter, I said. I can't wait for our date. She sent me a series of more emoticons. My anticipation was such that every day seemed like an eternity. I haven't felt this way since I was in high school, waiting for my first date with the girl I had a crush on. I remembered our conversation with Collins about, remember when we were 25. She wanted all that excitement, the bright colors, the feeling of anticipation. Strange, but I found all this. I wonder if she found it. I texted Nita once a day. She answered me 2 or 3 times, sometimes skipped a day, and I talked to her on the phone twice. Talking to her was a new experience for me. We switched between Spanish and English. She told me about her day, and it was so easy for me to communicate with her, as if we had been friends for a long time. She told me when she returned, and the excitement only grew. I drove up to the cabin in a truck and borrowed Beck's car. I didn't mind driving a truck with a camper, but it seemed awkward for a first date. I drove along the river following the directions from my phone. There were few houses, and the road wound along the river. The phone told me to turn onto a paved driveway, and I found myself blocked by a gate. I couldn't see the house, but I noticed the call button on the numeric keypad. I clicked on it and waited a second. Hey, is that you, Barnes? It was Nita's voice. Yes, your companion has arrived, I said. She was laughing. I am very pleased with your arrival and feel that you will be a delightful companion. I'll show you around. The gate opened and I pulled out into the driveway. It must have been 2 miles. There were different branches, and I wondered if I was lost when I saw the house. The woman lived in a huge, spacious mansion. It was high on a cliff overlooking the river, and the view was amazing. I rang the doorbell, and a minute later a young girl opened the door. She was gorgeous and looked like she was about 12 or 13. I saw an older woman standing behind the entrance. She extended her hand and said, "Welcome, Mr. Barnes. I'm Pia. Nita is my mother. You'll invite her to dinner, right?" "I'm very glad to meet you, Pia," I said in Spanish. "I see that you are very similar to your mother. You are as beautiful as she is. Do you speak English?" She had the same delightful blush that I had seen on her mother. "Yes, I speak English, Spanish, and French," she said. "I speak English better than French." "I'm sure you're good at all of them," I said. "Yes, I want to invite your mom to dinner. You do not mind?" She gave me critical feedback. "Yes, you, how can I say, look very good for a mature person." I laughed. "You're being a little flattering, and I'm not old." She giggled again, just like her mother. "It was very bad, wasn't it? Besides, you're Beck's father, and I love her very much." "Same thing," I said. She took my hand in her tiny one and led me through the entrance into a large open space. It looked like it was a living room, a dining room, and in the back I could see the kitchen. In the distance, "Thizbizzy," she said, introducing me to an older woman. "Nice to meet you," I said. "She is my friend and takes care of me and the house when Mom is away," she explained. "Mom is getting ready now. Would you like something to drink, Mr. Barnes, while we wait?" "What do you have?" I asked. "I'm drinking lemonade," she said. "We also have a lot of juice or adult beverages." "Lemonade sounds great," I said. "You don't have to call me Mr. Just Barnes will do." "Yeah, just Barnes," she said, her huge dark brown eyes sparkling with laughter. "That seems like a really weird name, doesn't it?" This made me laugh. "You're lovely," I told her, "and a jokester too." She giggled. "Yes, I like to laugh. We'll drink our lemonade on the back porch, Busy. I'll go pour it, just Barnes." She laughed again. "Stay here. Go with your guest." "Pia, I'll get it. It should not be neglected," said Busy. "It's okay," I said. "I'll go with Pia and won't feel left out." We grabbed tall glasses of cold lemonade and carried them back to the living room. The entire south wall was glass, doors that opened, and she led me outside, still holding my hand. We went out onto the veranda and went down the stairs to a huge mahogany terrace. Large leaf-shaped fans suspended from large vine-covered beams slowly rotated overhead, and the views across the river and across the valley were spectacular. "I really like it here," Pia said. "We'll sit in these chairs and chat." This girl was damn charming. "I've only met your mother once so far," I said. Personally, that is. For some reason, the topic of Pia never came up. "She must have been embarrassed to have such an impressive daughter," she said. "She doesn't tell anyone about me, afraid they'll love me more than her." We both laughed about it when Busy appeared, carrying lemonade to pitcher. "Thank you, Busy," we said at the same time, which made Pia giggle again. "I see that you are one of those people who can guess thoughts," she said. "I am," I said. "Everyone around me is wearing tin-foil hats." "I think we have a few," she said. "Should I warn Mom?" "No," I said. "I need to know what she thinks so I can make her happy by fulfilling her wishes." She tilted her head, thinking. "It's a very good plan," she said. "Barnes has it down to a science." "Well, this is my first date in years," I said. "I need to take full advantage. Say, Pia, I want to spend many days chatting with you, but don't you think your mother will be ready soon?" "Mom really likes to impress," she said. I expect her to appear for you to admire at any moment. Thank you for that comment, Pia. I heard that voice, deep, husky, reminiscent of smoky old jazz clubs and red wine. We turned around, and there she was standing on the top steps. God, she was stunning, breathtaking, perfect in white. This dress was pure white linen, very simple and elegant, with a bit of lace on the deep V neckline, falling nicely to mid-thigh, sleeveless with all that smooth brown skin visible at the top and bottom. Her feet were gorgeous, and she wore platform dance sandals with straps around her calves. She wore a wide-brimmed white hat and posed for impact. See, Pia woke me up from my stupor. You look very beautiful, Mom. Don't you agree, Barnes? I had to clear my throat before I could speak. Yes, I definitely agree. Nita, you are amazing. She smiled. I see you have met a beautiful one. Yes, and she is, I said. Pia, it was wonderful meeting you, and I hope to see you many more times. You are a charming lady. I finished my lemonade and walked over to offer my companion my hand. Why? You never mentioned that you have such little beauty, I said. I wanted it to be a surprise, she said. I thought that once you got the chance to meet her, you couldn't help but fall in love with her. I know you love your daughters, and I wanted you to love mine. She's my life, Barnes. Yes, I understand that, and I understand why, I said. The restaurant was as good as I had heard, and 3 doors down was a place called the Tenampa Salon. It was an experience. There was a stage and the biggest mariachi band I've ever seen. The place was a riot of color and music, and I danced with Nita. It was an adventure of its own because she was the best dancer I have ever seen. She made me struggle to even come close to keeping up. She knew everything from traditional Mexican dances to salsa and tango. The last number we settled on was slow and sweet, and holding this fiery beauty in your arms was something men would do heroic feats to enjoy. The road back to her house was almost unconscious on my part. I was in a world where only she and I existed. It all ended at her door, where she kissed me, and at that moment it was the highlight of my life. Before leaving, I was invited to invite Beck and spend the day with Nina and Pia the following Saturday. She let me take a photo to send to Becky. Sylvia called me on Tuesday afternoon. Dad, when is a good time for me to talk to you and Beck on FaceTime? She asked. How about 8 o'clock in the evening these days? I have dinner at her house, and by then she should be free. Darling, could you ask her and send me a picture? I can do this, I said. Is something wrong, dear? No, not really. There's nothing wrong with it, and you don't have to worry. I just need to talk to you guys. I need to talk to you all the time, I told her. She was laughing. Send me this picture. Love you, Dad. Love my girl, I said. Beck dealt with it, and we were sitting in her living room when we got the notification. After the usual conversation, she got to the reason why she wanted to talk. Dad, Beck, I feel bad here without you guys. I'm tired of dating fools, as you politely call my boyfriends. I hate my job, and my mom makes me miserable when I'm around her. I want to go to you. Really? Beck was great. Sylvia. Yes. Do you think you can find a job? I think I've already done that, she said. I'm going to buy a travel agency that books cabins on the lake. They're booking your spot too, Beck. Wow, you really studied this, didn't you? I said. Sylvia, I wish you were here, and I know Beck would. Are you sure, honey? Of course, she said. I wanted to talk to you guys first, in case you don't want me. She sobbed a little, and it broke my heart. Sylvia, I'm really sorry that I made you doubt this, I said. I love you, girl. I will always want to see you, no matter what, as long as I live. Seal, I know we kind of fought about Mom, Beck said. I love you too. You are my older sister. You spanked Jamie Mayers because he picked on me when I was in first grade. This made Sylvia chuckle weakly. I did it, didn't I? He was a jerk and bullied my little sister. When do you think you'll put it all together? I asked. It might take me a month or two, she said. I've already moved on. It's so exciting, Beck said. I cannot wait. We talked for another hour, and it seemed that the matter was decided. As I sat in the camper that night, I thought about how my life was going. It seemed like I was moving from one level to another. Parabek coming here, meeting Nita, who I hoped would be a big part of my life. And now Sylvia was going to move in. It couldn't have been better. On Friday, I asked Nita if she wanted me to bring something. Beck told me you make pico de gallo very well, she said. Bring it. I went to the market, bought fresh ingredients, and prepared a big bowl. We took the truck to Nita's on Saturday. I wondered what Nita and Pia would think about this. They obviously did not live in poverty. Neither am I, and it's not like I couldn't afford a house. It was my choice, and I loved it. But what would they think? We'll probably find out. Pia ran outside when we arrived and rushed to Beck as soon as she came out. She walked around and was a little more reserved with me, but she hugged me. We're going to the river, she said. Mom prepared everything for a taco picnic. Delicious, Beck said. Let's go inside, said Pia. Mom and busy, they are collecting things. She took both of us by the hand and led us inside. We walked into the kitchen, and there were several coolers and baskets on the bar counter. They were busy putting plastic bowls and plates into baskets and drinks into coolers. We helped and were soon ready. Barnes brought his truck, Pia said. This will be perfect for our trip. I couldn't help but laugh at the way she phrased it. What a charming girl. We loaded everything up and Beck and Pia climbed into the back seat. Nita sat down next to me, and we drove along the road, turning in the direction she pointed. It's good that you are with us, I said. I will never find my way back from here. She laughed. There are a lot of places to go, she said. We have buildings for different functions along these roads. What buildings? Asked Beck. Stables, equipment sheds, warehouses, cattle sheds, corrals, etc., Nita answered. We pulled up to the river, and there was a gazebo and dock with 3 jet skis standing out of the water. There were 2 picnic tables under the gazebo and a grill. I was planning on heating up the food on the grill, Nita said. But since you brought your home, can we use your stove? Of course, I said. All the comforts of home in a small package. I would really like to see the inside, Pia said. I've never been inside a house like this. I'll give you a tour, I said. We heated the tacos in the oven, and I walked them around the camper. Pia had to lie down on my bed, sit in all the chairs, and check every device. She and Beck carried some of our things to the tables, and I took the moment to drag Nita away and kiss her. Hello, beautiful, I said. I couldn't wait to be alone and do it. She laughed. Well, it's nice to know you wanted it. Me too, she whispered. Beck and Pia returned, and we prepared our late lunch. Everyone complimented my pico de gallo, and it was all delicious. We sat and chatted for about an hour. Then Pia asked if we wanted to go jet skiing. The girls were wearing shorts and t-shirts, and they went to change. Pia came out first, and she chatted with me while I inspected the system that raised and lowered the jet skis. Beck and Nita came out, and I went to change into my swimming trunks. When I got out, one jet ski was already in the water, and we quickly lowered the other 2. Can I come with you, Barnes? Asked Pia. With pleasure, I said. You don't control them. I manage, she said. Maybe we can switch, and I'll go and Mom will go with you later. Beck and Nita took off their covers, and I froze for a moment. I knew Nita was an impressive woman, but I was somewhat unprepared to see her in a bikini. It wasn't the latest fashion or anything, but she was. Beck will always be small, charming, and like an elf. Nita was different. She was curvaceous, but not in the sense in which the word is sometimes used to mean plump. She was far from being fat, but she had hips, a narrow waist, and large breasts. She noticed my gaze, blushed, and crossed her arms over her chest. Ready? She asked. We were ready and Pia climbed onto the jet ski with me. I noticed that the jet ski they chose for me had 30 more horsepower and was longer. We allowed Nita to lead the column, since I assumed that she knew the river. We must have traveled upstream about 5 miles. We drove under the bridge and rounded bend before Nita slowed down. She pointed to a small cliff to the east, and we slowly drove up to it. There was a path up and around the cliff, and as I looked in the direction it was pointing, I noticed a rope fastened high up in a tree. We turned off the engines. "Would you like to swing on a rope?" she asked. Pia practically jumped up and down behind me. "Yes, we should," she said. "It's so fun. You will swing high above the river, then you will let go of the rope and fall. The water is very deep." It looked suspicious to me, but I decided to give it a try and Beck was clearly delighted. Nita stood knee-deep in the water and held the jet skis while we headed up to the cliff. "Who wants to go first?" I asked. "Beck has to go," Pia decided. "I've already been, and I want to look at it." Beck grabbed the bar woven into the rope. "Hold on, honey," I told her. She nodded and rushed forward with a scream. It was the biggest swing I've ever seen. I don't know how far it flew, but it must have been about 15 feet at its highest point. She fell and disappeared from sight. She surfaced, threw her hair back, clearing her eyes of water, and swam back to Nita. "Oh God, Dad, it was amazing. You have to try." I decided that Pia should go next, and she soared up like a small bird, turning into a dive in the air. She was a very agile athlete. I swam like an otter, and she and Beck held the jet skis while Nita climbed up to me. I let her go, and she was as graceful as ever, making a cute squealing sound as she took off. Now it's my turn. Looking down was 3 times scarier than looking up, and my chicken jeans were screaming at me. I couldn't let a 12-year-old girl show me how to be a coward, so I forced myself to push myself off the cliff. I swooped to my death, the rope swinging me up at the bottom, and I was longer than the girls, so my feet barely touched the water before I flew up. I almost forgot to let go of the rope, but I collected my thoughts in time and plunged into the cool depths. It was fun. Nita and I sat on the jet skis and watched as Beck and Pia went 3 more times. Pia decided to take control and Nita sat next to me. It didn't bother me at all that her arms were wrapped around me from behind. We returned, pulled the jet skis out of the water and sat in the sun, holding cold drinks and enjoying the rays. In the evening, we got ready and went back to the house. We thanked them for a wonderful day, and Beck and I headed home. She invited me to stay to eat, and I agreed. "How are you feeling, Dad?" she asked. "Pretty good." "A little tired," I replied. "Something about the combination of sun and water makes you tired." "Is it true?" she said. "But that's not what I meant. I'm talking about Nita and about Pia." "Oh, well, Pia is a little doll. It's impossible not to love her. And Nita, I had feelings that I never knew could arise again," I said. "She makes me happy just by being around me. She's so damn beautiful, Beck. You know this, but she's so much more than just pretty. She's a wonderful, warm person. She's funny. She's smart. She's obviously a great mother. She's independent. She's everything a man could want. I definitely want her. And it seems that she is not averse to me either." "She feels the same way," she said. "She told me she thinks you're the one." "The only one," I said. She laughed. "Yes, just make sure it's you. It was not in vain that I tried. Don't ruin everything." "I'll do my best," I said. "Thank you, Beck. Now how about you take care of yourself, too? You need love in your life, too." "Yeah, I'll have to start working on that," she said. "I've just been a little busy with work, but I'm keeping my eyes open." I hugged my daughter and drove home. Nita and I started meeting 2 or 3 times a week. I picked up Pia and took her fishing several times. She invited me on jet skis when I was going on a business trip, and I took her to a celebration. I fell in love with this girl the same way I fell in love with my own daughters. By the time 4 months passed, I was completely in love with Nita. When we were together, I was happier than I've ever been in my life. When we were apart, thoughts of her filled my head and my dreams at night. I lived in anticipation of the next meeting with her, and every minute spent apart, I missed her. We texted constantly, and she started using Snapchat, each message accompanied by a photo of her. We kissed at the end of every date, and I wanted her in every way. I was very careful. This little lady was special, and I wanted every step to be perfect. Beck loved her, and Sylvia, when she visited, fell in love with her too. The four of them, Nita, Pia, Beck, and Sylvia, were constantly doing something together, sometimes with me, sometimes just the girls. On Monday, I sent a snap to Nita and said I would like to go to Tulum with her for the weekend. She called immediately. Is it true? I've never been there, but I've heard it's beautiful and has Mayan ruins. She was in Los Machis, and I told her I would come there and we would fly from there. What about Pia? She asked. Is this just for the two of us, or do you have a plan for her? I plan to take her with me, I said. I was going to ask if Beck and Sylvia could come. Make it a family event of sorts. She was silent for a minute. Barnes, I was very touched that you consider Pia and me family. You are a very nice person. I would really like that, and I hope Sylvia and Beck can come. They loved my daughter very much. I know they love you very much, I said. They love Pia too. Do you love me very much too? She asked. I was a little stunned, but quickly came to my senses. Nita, I want to tell you this in person, not over the phone, okay? Yes, I understand. Sorry for asking you on the phone. We'll go to Tulum and I'll ask you again, in person. I laughed. I understand that I won't get away from this. I checked the flights and one leaves at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Can you leave by then? I'll organize it so that I can, she said. Drive carefully with my daughters. It turned out that Sylvia and Beck were able to go, and Pia was over the moon when I told her. We packed up and went on a long drive, and it was one of the best road trips of my life. Pia sat in the back with Beck and served as our official DJ. We took turns choosing songs. I didn't like their choices, mostly, and they sighed and rolled their eyes when I chose. We picked Nita up at her condo and drove the truck to the airport. There were no problems, and we flew on friendly wings. Tulum was everything Sylvia promised, and I was pleased to see that she knows her stuff as a travel agent. She arranged one of those all-inclusive packages. Our hotel was on the beach and was the height of luxury. We spent time at the beach on Saturday, swam in the blue water, and went to an open-air restaurant in the evening. Beck and Sylvia said they wanted to take Pia to a beach party and told us she would be spending the night in their room. They left, and Nita and I were left alone. We were walking back to the hotel, and I hugged her, pulling her towards me. Well, this is not suspicious at all. It seems we've been set up, Nita. She laughed. I think you are right. Do you mind, Barnes? If you don't mind, I said. I like it, if you like it. I'm quite pleased, she said. I took her to my room and made us drinks. Nita, you asked me if I love you. I want to tell you, I love you more than I could ever imagine. From the moment I met you, I thought of little else but you. You filled my heart, my thoughts, my life. I love you very much. She raised her head and looked into my eyes, those deep, almost black, full of fire and emotions. It makes Nita very happy, she said. I love you, Barnes. I didn't know if I could ever love again after Emiliano died. I grieved for a long time, but now I have you, and you have captured my heart. I felt emotions overwhelming me and kissed her again. You have my heart, she said again. I want to give you everything else too. Oh God, Nita, from the first time I saw you, I wanted this, I said. You are the most gorgeous, sexy, and sensual woman I have ever met. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm not scared, she said. The only terrible thing is if you didn't love me, didn't want me. Am I crazy? I asked. I'd be crazy if I didn't love you and want you. God, Nita, never doubt. You're the most desirable woman I've ever seen. I can't believe there aren't thousands of men standing at your gates trying to find an approach to you every day. She laughed. I don't need thousands of men, just one. They made love. I woke up to the fact that he knocked on the door. Come back with the warrant, I shouted. Women's giggles were heard outside. Dad, let us in. It was Beck. I hastily threw on a robe, and Nita covered herself with a blanket. All three girls rushed in, pushing a cart full of breakfast in front of them. They left the cart and Beck and Sylvia rushed to the bed, throwing themselves at Nita, laughing and talking like crazy. I sat down in a chair, and Pia came and sat on my lap, her arms around my neck, her wavy dark hair above us. You love her, right? She said. Yes, I love you too, I said, hugging this little body tightly. I love you, she said. I knew you loved us. Mom loves you. I asked her, and she told me. I want to be your daughter like Beck and Sylvia, she said. I couldn't help it. Tears of happiness and love rolled down my cheeks like a river, and I held on to her with all my might. I'm honored that you treat me this way, I said. I will try very hard to be everything you want me to be. Will you marry Mom? She asked. So we can be a real family, you know? I looked at Nita and the girls. They all looked at me expectantly. There's nothing I want more than anything in the world, I said, but I think I should talk to your mother about it. Just the two of us, and I'm not ready at the moment. I leaned over and whispered to her, I don't have a ring. Ah, she said. Yes, I understand. We had breakfast and then hurried down to catch the shuttle to the Mayan ruins. It was impressive, awe-inspiring. We flew back on Monday morning, tired, happy, with indelible memories. We dropped Nita off. She needed 2 more days of work, and I took the girls' rings shopping with me. The shops there were mostly small. The jewelers made their own jewelry, and we found an older gentleman from the cabin who made exquisite jewelry. He had a large collection of stones, one of which was a particularly brilliant red-orange fire opal that all the girls liked. I don't think this will be a good engagement ring, I complained. We need diamonds. No, Mom would love that, Pia said. She told me that she finds diamonds, what can I say, tasteless. We all laughed. Almost the same, said Sylvia. Tasteless. Did she really say that? Yes, several times, Pia said. See, Dad, she'll love it, Beck insisted. I let them talk me into it, and we compromised by putting 4 little diamonds around it. The jeweler said he could have it ready in 2 weeks and send it to me. Once I received it, all I had to do was choose the time and place. I told Nita that I wanted to come and return to that little gazebo by the river. I think she knew what I was planning. We took her ATV, and it was a wonderful evening. Pia was very curious, and when I told her what I was doing, she had to rush to her room so as not to reveal it out of excitement. I knelt in the gazebo, and when Nita noticed this, her hand flew to her mouth. I took her hand and said, Nita, I am not good at speeches, but I love you with all my heart. I never want to live without you and without Pia in my life. Will you marry me? I will do everything in my power to make sure you never regret saying yes. I opened the box, and she extended her hand. I put the ring on, and she said, Yes, Barnes, I so want to be your wife. I want to love you always. She raised her hand, admiring the ring. I can't believe I have a fire opal, she said. This is my favorite stone. A little bird told me, I said. I think I know this little bird, she said, her eyes filled with tears of happiness. When we got home, Pia was waiting for us, and she arrived, flitting excitedly from one of us to the other. I cannot believe this. You will be my father, Barnes. Suddenly, she burst into tears. I knelt down and hugged her slender figure. I thought it would make you happy, baby. She pressed herself close to me. Yeah, I hoped. I thought we'd never find anyone. You found me, I told her. I will never let you go, Pia. She clung to me, sobbing for a few minutes while I held her, and then turned and walked away. It's so cool. I laughed. You spend too much time with Beck. You're starting to sound like her. She giggled. She teaches me a lot of good words. We set the wedding date for December 5th, and I was the happiest man in the world when Nita walked down the aisle in her gold dress. She said she had already worn white, and it was something new, so she was breaking tradition. I moved in with her, but she insisted that we keep the camper. We might want to go on a long vacation, she said. We'll use it, I promise. I removed it from the truck and placed it on stands. We used the truck around the house, and it was much more convenient without the camper. I don't remember ever being happier. The only hiccup came when Sylvia came to me in the second year of our marriage and said that she needed to talk. We sat on the terrace, and she gathered her courage. Mom wants to come visit, she said. I sighed. Well, I thought it would happen sooner or later. Dear, when is she going to arrive? She wants to come for Christmas, she said. Sylvia, what do you want, dear? I asked. She hesitated to answer. I wanted to spend Christmas here with you. I know Beck will be staying here, and I was going to stay too. Now I'll have to spend at least part of the time with my mom. Beck won't be there, so I'll have to be alone with her. I still love her, Dad. I'm sorry if this disappoints you, but I remember who she was, everything she did for me, and what we did together. I pulled her towards me and hugged her. I know you do, Syl. I'm not disappointed at all. I'm proud of you. She cried a little, and I held her. Everything will be fine. I know this isn't what you wanted, but that's the way it is. You can tell your mother that you already have plans for Christmas dinner. She'll have to deal with it. It's her fault, not yours. It's difficult, she said. I'll have to deal with this. I just wanted you to know. What if she wants to talk to you, see you? Let me talk to Nita, I said. She's smarter than me. Let's see what she says. Sylvia spent the rest of the day with us, and we had dinner together before she left. Nita was in Las Machas for 2 more days, and I raised the issue when she returned. We sat on the sofa, looking at the fire in the fireplace, and I told her about Sylvia's visit and the news. She silently looked into the fire, thoughtfully for several minutes. How do you feel about meeting her, Barnes? She asked. I asked myself that question, I said. I guess it was inevitable. She's the girl's mother, and I guessed that sooner or later she would want to see them. I don't really have feelings for her, Nita. I don't think about her. I loved her for many years. We had many good moments, but they were all somehow overshadowed by the way it ended. She snuggled against my side and rested her cheek on my hand. I think we should all have dinner together at the lodge, she said. I want to meet her, Barnes, to find out what she's like. Is it true? I asked. Yes, she was a part of your life for many years. She was a part of Sylvia and Beck's life. I would like to meet her in person. This made me nervous, but Nita was an independent person and did what she considered necessary. She was very independent and made me nervous many times, but she always acted confidently and flawlessly. When Collins arrived, she stayed at Beck Lodge, and I saw less of the girls than usual. I assumed they were spending time with her. Nita actually met with her, and if there were any clashes there, it was not mentioned. I asked Nita what she thought. I like her, she said. Is it true? Yes, I think she's changed a lot, she said. Sylvia and Beck agree. She became self-reflective, introspective. She was very nice to me. Well, that's good, isn't it? I asked. I think so, she said. We were talking about you. God, I hope you weren't listening, I said. She laughed. Of course she listened. I want to know about you. She didn't say anything bad about you, only good things. I snorted. I wouldn't count on it. She smiled. Well, she certainly didn't admire your inflexibility. I see, I said. Well, Apparently, it didn't do any harm. You're still here with me, snuggling. No, there's no harm, she said. I adore you, Barnes. That will never change. Pia came in and snuggled up to us, and I hugged both of my dark princesses. 2 days before Christmas, it rained heavily and the river turned into a torrent. I had to save the dock by lifting it 3 times during the night. The water took away 2 sections of our fence. I got up early on Christmas morning and helped one of the workers fix the fences. We finished around noon. I expected Sylvia and Beck to already arrive. We planned to open gifts after lunch, and packages were already piling up under the tree. I returned to the house, took a shower, and changed clothes. When I was ready, I went to look for the girls. They were nowhere to be found, although Sylvia's car was there. I prepared a jug of rum punch and a jug of seasoned cider, put them on the heater, and drank a glass of rum punch. The perfect Christmas drink, I thought. I heard voices outside and the door opened. Pia ran inside and took her place next to me. Davy came in and lay down at our feet, sighed with pleasure and fell asleep, snoring his approval to the world. It smells good, Pia said. What is this? It's a rum punch, I said. Can I try? I gave her a taste, and she made a cute little face. Ugh, she said. It smells much better than it tastes. I laughed. It's an acquired taste, dear. I also made a flavored cider. Grab a cup. She took the cup, and then Beck came in. She also mentioned the smell was good, but she seemed to like the rum punch. Sylvia came in behind her, and then I was taken aback when Nita walked in, arm in arm with Collins. They both saw my gaze, and Nita quickly approached me. Don't be mad, Barnes. Collins had nowhere to go. No one should be alone on Christmas, so I called and invited her. I wasn't completely angry, but I wasn't happy either. Nita picked me up and led me to Collins. Collins wants to talk to you, she said. Take her to the office. I took Collins to the counter and offered her cider or punch. She grabbed a cup of hot cider and we went into the office. Nita, Pia, and I had chairs, and I sat in mine while she took Nita's place. You look good, Barnes, she said. Thanks, you too, I replied. She actually looked great. She seemed to have lost some weight, although she didn't need to. She nodded. I need to apologize to you, Barnes, she said. I was a real bitch, and I know it. I only thought about myself and what I wanted. I know I disrespected you, and it had consequences that I will have to live with for the rest of my life. I need you to forgive me. I know I don't deserve it, but I hope you're still the man I married and you'll give me what I don't deserve. I collected my thoughts. I'm not going to make a big speech, I told her. There were consequences, and one of them was freeing me up to find what I have now. I was destroyed, embittered, and wounded. Not now. I know I was, she said, and I'm so sorry I caused that pain. I took a deep breath and took a sip of my punch. I forgive you, I said. You met Nita and Pia. That little girl is dear to me. Collins, Sylvia, and Beck love her, and she's their little sister. They love Nita too, and she's become a kind of big sister to them. You'll always be their mother, Collins. You can always come here. Nita said that you like it. The girls say that you have changed. I hope you will live happily, and if you can accept it, I will think about you. Good for that. Can we be friends? She asked. We'll see, I said. Just don't start with your nonsense. She laughed. No, I won't. You're on your feet, Barnes. I'm still looking for mine. Nita knocked on the door. We're ready for dinner, she said. We sat down at a large table. Pia said a prayer, and the air was filled with laughter and the sounds of happy voices. I looked across the table at Nita. She smiled at me and winked. Pia gave pieces of food to Davy, who worshipped her like an altar. My daughters kept talking, and Collins was lively and seemed to be enjoying the company. Looks like it was going to be a good Christmas. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story. because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.